I'm Bill Stanek, and I was talking with your pastor and his wife a couple times this week, or over the last month and a half here, and he asked if I'd share a little bit about mission trips to Spain. And before I get started, well, let's first of all start out with a word of prayer. Father, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Lord, for the needs in Spain. Thank you for the people over there, Lord. And we thank you, too, for this church. Thank you for their support of the ministry over there. We love you, Father, and just give you the praise in Jesus' name. Amen. And I am going to be sitting or standing back and forth here. I have a hard time standing very long. So just be prepared. If I need to sit down, I will. Before I get started, though, I want to just give a short testimony of why I've been involved in Spain. And I'd spent almost 20 years volunteering at Spring Hill camps in Everett. I got to the point where we're up there 30 to 40 hours a week. And finally, I got a phone call from the founding director of La Carta in Spain. And he says, I've heard you've designed a teepee at Spring Hill. We were up there a few months ago, and we happened to see this teepee, and we want them in Spain. We've got teepees over here, but they're falling apart. They're on a wood platform, and the wood is rotten. It wasn't a treated wood. And he says, we need you to come over here and help us build these. I've got a new maintenance man, and I'd like for you to teach him how to work with volunteers. Well, I had never been out of the country. I had no intention of going to Spain. And I politely told him, I says, no, this isn't really something I'm interested in. He says, fine. Whew, I'm off the hook. He said, but can I ask you one more thing? Will you pray about it? How do you answer? Well, yes, I'll pray about it. And within 2 weeks, I knew that God wanted me to go over there. I mentioned it to people in our church. Pete Alley's son decided he wanted to go over there with me. Pete's daughter was already over in Spain, and he says he missed his sister. He says, we could get together while I'm over there. So Ryan went over with me on that first trip, and that was in 1997. The problem was I went over there thinking they needed me. I was going over there to teach him, to show them how to do this, and teach her maintenance man how to work with volunteers. And I got over there. I don't speak any Spanish. The first night they put us with a couple that spoke no English. We had a good time though. And the next day we went out to camp, and I worked with 2 teams from Texas. First week we had one group there. Second week another group that came up there. And we started building these teepees. It went well, but before I came home, God had spoken to me. It wasn't about you. He changed my life. And I fell in love with the people of Spain. They are a needy country. Less than 0.5% are evangelical believers over there. Part of the problem is, in my opinion anyway, is they have a lot of stuff. They're pretty well to do. Maybe not quite as much as us in the U.S., but they do not have to depend on God. They depend on things. Does that sound familiar? I think we do that a lot too here. So really, after God spoke to me there, I knew I had to go back. I waited 4 years until my wife retired, and then I led a team from our church, Trinity Fellowship in Big Rapids, and we went over there in 2001. Well, I've been over there 11 times now to Spain. I've led 11 mission trips over there, taken over 100 and probably 120 people from the Big Rapids community. I've tried to get people from other churches whenever we go, and we've taken people from Everett. Now Everett is sending their own teams over there, and it's just a multiplying effect. I've had people go with me from Alaska. I've had people from Indiana go with me. So just people we knew. So over the years, we've been able to really help with projects over there. All the teams I've been on are work teams that I lead over there, and we help prepare the property to get it ready for camp. We do a lot of construction, My background is construction. I've done a lot of design work for a lot of the items we have over there that we use to help reach these kids. And it's not only kids, it's adults too. If you can reach the kids, a lot of times you can reach the parents. And we do have a family camp also, where we do bring in adults also. So that has been kind of the background here. If you guys are willing to send a team over there, I'm willing to work with you. I will share any information that I have. I've got a lot of experience leading teams, not over there. I've done a few others too, mission trips. So if I can help in any way, I will. I'll help organize your meetings. I'll help work with your leader, whoever wants to go over there. I'll do everything I can to help you. And starting out, that's why I thought this would kind of be our first meeting. Kind of a, get acquainted here, tell you a little more about what you would do, when it would be, what's going on. I'd like to start out, though, with just, if you've got the sheet in front of you, answering some of these questions. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of these. Spain sounds like a nice place to visit. This trip will give me a chance to brush up on my Spanish. I know that good Christians go on mission trips, and sounds like fun. It will be nice to get out of the cold weather in Michigan in March or April. I have never been overseas, so this will be a great opportunity. I have heard sport raising is easy, and someone will help pay for my way. This is a construction team, and they'll take anyone. Well, if you answered yes to any of these, we don't want you. You want a vacation? Call your travel agent. But I feel called to go on a short-term mission trip. That is number one. I'm willing to let God use my life in whatever ways he wants. It bothers me when only 0.5% of the people in Spain know Jesus. If this doesn't bother you, you're probably not meant for this trip. I would like to help the full-time missionaries overseas. I'm willing to work as a team and accept leadership from others. I will write support letters and raise my support. I'm willing to attend meetings to prepare myself for this trip. I'm willing to let God change my life through this trip. Now, if you answered yes to those, you're the people we want. So, I just want to introduce you today to short-term missions. How many of you has been on a short-term mission trip before? 5, 6, 7? Yeah, service trip, something. Not a lot of you. This would be a great opportunity to supply enough information that you can make a prayerful decision. If I can give you enough information on a trip, I want you to pray about it and see if this is what God wants you to do. I want to encourage you to get involved in some type of mission. If this doesn't fit you, you don't have vacation available to go, get involved somewhere in a short-term mission trip. And I would like to enlist your help to build in a full team. So whatever we can do. Where are we going? La Carta is a Christian camp in the foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains. Beautiful country. We've got a little over, I say 400 acres over there. I think that's what it actually measures out to be. We've been told there's up to 700. It's hard to tell. It's in the foothills of the mountains, so it's all up and down hills. But it's beautiful property, beautiful countryside, a beautiful area. It's about an hour south of France. It's about an hour and a half be east to the Mediterranean, or west of the Mediterranean, I'm sorry. So usually, we have a chance to do a little sightseeing over there too. But it is a beautiful camp. What do we do over there? I have built somehow I've been involved in most of the projects over there over the years. But we need people to work. This coming spring, we've got one team lined up already from Alabama, but we're trying to get a second team, third team, probably up to 4 teams. But we've got a lot of wood platforms that I helped build in 2003, I think it's 2003. We put in a lot of platforms. The screws are starting to back out. A lot of them boards are loose. It just takes a lot of maintenance work. This last year, we sent a team over from Everett and from Big Rapids, and they spent most of their time repairing the teepees that we built in '97. Items don't last forever, and the teepees are wood construction, and they went through, fixed a lot of the wood, re-screwed a lot of it together. Just now they should last another 20 years. And we will be doing that this year. We've got a lot of other projects, just maintenance projects, getting the camp ready so the kids can have a good experience. We let the camp go for too long, and it started to go downhill. A lot of our buildings just needed a lot of help. And when you bring kids in for the summer, your first impression when you pull into a camp is very important. And if we can have a good set of buildings that look nice, that are maintained well, this means a lot. And it's a lot of comfort, probably more for the parents than the kids. But if you take your kids to camp, you've paid to send them there, and you drop them off, and you see mold on the bottom of a teepee, or you see stuff laying around, it's not very exciting to leave your kids, especially if you haven't left them before. I mean, some parents are happy to leave their kids and get away from them, but for the most part. So that's our goal, is to really improve the property and keep it up. And this trip this spring will be a lot of that. We've got a lot of items that just need some tender, loving care. Who can go? I mean, there'll be painting, there'll be working with, screwing boards down, cleaning, mowing, even if, depending on what time we go. So we can use anybody. And I've always said, when I take a team over, if you're willing to work, if you're willing to go, I can use you. And it's very easy to use people. Information about La Carta. La Carta's about 30 years old now. It was founded by Dave and Debbie Frank, who had worked at Spring Hill for a year after they were married before going overseas. They went overseas to do church planting. They spent 5 years in Spain trying to do church planting, and it was tough. You're getting nowhere over there. And people are pretty cliquish over there. They don't look forward to an outsider coming in. And it was really hard. Finally, they asked Greater Europe Mission, their sending board, if they could start a camp over there. Greater Europe Mission at that time had no camps. This was 1991, I believe. And they told Dave, well, if you can raise the money for it and you want to start it, we'll back you. But you have to do your own fundraising for it. You have to start the camp. Well, Dave talked to a few other people. They looked for 3 years for property for this camp. And finally, after 3 years, God directed them to the camp we have there now. There was a few old buildings on the property, but it was mostly vacant land. They prayed about it. The people that owned it the fellow that owned it had died. He'd left it to 2 of his sisters. They lived in Barcelona, which is about an hour and a half away. People in the area had no idea how to contact them. So finally they hired a lawyer to help try to find them to see if they could buy that property. He went to an old address, left a note in a mailbox. And one of the gal's sons picked up the mail one day, hadn't been there for 6-8 weeks, and didn't usually check the mail, but it happened to be in there. And he picked this up, he took it back, and they made a contact. They were asking a lot more than what Dave felt they could pay. But they prayed about it. They offered him half the price. They wouldn't take it. They went back, again, not raising their amount. And finally they needed money, and they says, yeah, we'll take it. Part of the reason they couldn't sell it before is they had a tenant living on the property, and over in Spain, if somebody's on there, it's pretty hard to sell property. So this worked out that they were able to. Well, after they said yes, Dave says, we don't have that kind of money. It was $500,000 he wanted. And so he told the agent to go back and offer him $300,000. I think it was $300,000. I may have my figures a little bit wrong here, but it's close to that. And he says, what do you mean? He says, they've already cut it in half. And he says, just do it. God's telling me to ask that. And they went back and they said yes. He went back again. Can we give you $100,000 now and have 3 years I think it's 3 years to raise the rest of it. They finally agreed to it. God had his hand in this all the time. And finally they did get the property, a beautiful piece of property, and now we've been 30 years plus with kids there on the property. We average probably 24 to 30 kids a summer that accept Christ. Not big numbers, but when you start multiplying that times 30 years, and how many of these kids go out and reach someone else, God's at work, and it works. So that's just a little history of La Carta, where it's at. When will you go? That is pretty much up to you guys. I like to take work teams March and April so that you're ready. The camp is ready to open in May. We've got, I know, one team coming over there, and I think that's right about the end of March. So I'd have to find out for sure. I don't know if I still got the mic on here. I guess it is. But if we find out who wants to go, what dates are available from you guys, and then I'll find out over there if that'll work. How will we get there? Well, basically, we raise enough money, and I'm kind of mixing things up here a little bit. But to cover our cost to get over there, we cover our cost while we're over there, and we take $500 a person for material. Your trip will probably cost around $2,600, I'm guessing. I haven't put a budget together yet until I find out how many are going and what's going on, and it depends a lot on plane tickets. If you get tickets by the first couple weeks of January, it's usually the best time. And right now I can get tickets for around $900. If you wait, they're probably going to be up $1,700, $1,800. And if that's the case, it's going to be higher. Once you get out, we fly. It's best if you can get flights, and I've done almost everything, flying in different places. If you can go through the U.S., fly out of Grand Rapids. We've flown out of Detroit, Grand Rapids before. Grand Rapids to Philadelphia or Atlanta, and then go Atlanta directly to Barcelona, or Philadelphia directly to Barcelona. Works out best. Sometimes we've had to go through Paris, the Netherlands. It just depends what we can get for good tickets. But if you can do your transfer in the U.S., especially coming back with customs, that works best. So I try to work that out if we've got time and we can do that. Where will you stay when, let's see. Where will we stay when we get there? About 4 years ago, we started building bungalows over there. We've got 3 bungalows that we're using in the summer for some of the camp programs, but a lot of times for volunteers or people that are over there. In the spring, when we go over, they're usually pretty much open, and we can use the bungalows. The bungalows each have 2 bedrooms with 3 sets of double bunk beds in it. Has a living area, a living room, and a kitchenette. Usually we can put, if we've got, depending on the team, we put a couple in one room, another couple in another room, maybe group 3 or 4 guys together, or 2 or 3 gals together. But they're very modern buildings. Showers in each bedroom area. Nice facility. It's not like you're going to a third world country. Now, if we do a summer trip, when camp is going, you'd most likely end up staying in the wall tents and using the shower house, bathrooms. And that is an option that I've talked to your pastor about, as possibility. Some would rather go in the summer during camp. I would not recommend it for your first trip over there. We've talked about that a little bit. In the summer, it's very involved. We take people from the U.S. over for English camp, which is all done in English, and all of our sports camps are done in English. And it's a great time to go over there. But you work from 7 or 8 in the morning till 1 or 2 in the morning. 7 days. It's not an older person's point to go. I used to, first trip over there, we'd go out after supper and go back and work for a few hours. We haven't done that the last 5 trips. If we put in an 8 to 10 hour day and you're working hard, that's a good day. But later on, you may want to send sports teams, you may want to send coaches, or just go over and help with English camp. There's always work to do in the kitchen, you're around the kids, but like I say, they're long days and very tiring. But most younger people can do a week. And you don't do it week after week, but you can at least push a week. But back to this. Once we get there, the camp has 2 vans that we can usually use, 9-passenger vans. I try to put teams together, either 8 or 16 if I can. And that way we've got a driver in a van, even when we had to rent vans. That works out great. But if you got somewhere 14, 15, works good for a team too. But we do have 2 vans that we like to use to get around over there. Talked a little bit about what's going to be done. How much will it cost? I think, I'm just guessing. I haven't put a budget together yet, but I'm looking at $2,600 a person. And that would cover all your... The only thing that basically you need money for besides that is maybe a meal in the airport on the way over or back, or if you want to buy souvenirs. And I do recommend taking a little money to buy souvenirs because there's a wonderful candy factory in the town where our office is, and they sell some of the best chocolate. And I usually buy chocolate over there to bring back to some of the donors that help support me. So, but there's souvenirs. That's the only thing you really need to spend besides this. I tell people $50 and $100 over is plenty to take. What help will be available? From my experience, people going on mission trips, if you haven't been on one before and you're willing to send out letters, most generally you can raise your support. If you're going as a couple, usually you raise at least one person's support. We've had couples go over that have raised the whole thing, but we do try to raise support. There's other ways that you can do fundraising stuff, but I like to ask everybody to send out at least 30 letters. And I don't care if you've got the money, you're paying your own way. I would like you to send out 30 letters and ask for prayer support, if nothing else. It is important. And it gives you the chance to see what it's like for missionaries to have to raise support. So I encourage you to do that. Usually, we have had very little trouble raising support, and people can go. I've had single people go that have raised twice what they need. So we've all got connections, and if we just, ask, and people say, I hate to ask for money. No, don't deny them the opportunity to go and be blessed by you going. A lot of people can't go, but if you allow them to let God bless them through this, that's what you're doing. What must I do if I decide to go? Number 1, I've got applications here that if anybody's interested afterwards, we can fill out. I've always required this, and I've talked to Brett a little bit about it too there. I like to have $200 down with an application. If not, people do not follow through on it. If you've got $200 of your own money into this, it shows us that you're serious. So we turn in an application with $200 and we start the process. I recommend that your pastor, myself maybe, somebody else, we interview every person going. Number 1, we want to know what your testimony is. We want to know if you're a good fit for a team. And I mentioned to your pastor, I've done a couple trips, and I've had 2 times out of my 11 trips, 120 people, I've had probably 2 people that were not good fits. And I knew beforehand. Both of them I was asked to take along as a project, and it doesn't work. You don't send somebody on a mission trip so they'll come to Christ. we're busy over there, and we want to take Christians over there. So that, if that's something you're thinking about, would probably be better not. You turn in the $200, interview with the team. Then, what do I ask people? Commit to raising your support, at least sending out your letters. Attend as many meetings as you can before you go. I like to have 4 to 6 meetings with the team before we go. It helps you to gel as a team. When you get over there, the 12, 16 of you are going to be together 24/7. Most of you don't even spend that much time with your spouse. And when you're with somebody you haven't spent time with, it's hard. So that's why I have as many meetings as I do. I like to split the meetings up to about a third of it for information, about a third of it kind of a devotional, and about a third of it in prayer time. And really, it just makes a nice small group going over. That way you know where everybody's at, and it really helps. You attend as many meetings. You have to have a valid passport to go. You don't need a visa or anything, but you do need a valid passport. And that cannot expire within 8 or 9 months of leaving. And I'm not sure why they put an expiration date on them, but you have to go have a passport that's valid for at least that long afterwards. I have not talked to your pastor about this, but I have always required a current tetanus shot. It's not required over there, but we have required it because we're doing construction work. I've had one person that refused, and we were okay with it. I mean, they did not believe in shots, and I allowed them. But I like to require it if we can. Here's some medical people up here.
Good idea. Good idea.
So, yes. Get security clearance. You will have to watch video, send in information, and I think it's $20 to go with it, to Greater Admission, and they have to clear you so you can go work at the camp. So, I mean, you'll know if you can't pass a clearance. I mean, I had one person back away from going because he was concerned about it. And the funny thing was that back then, a lot of the items you couldn't buy over in Spain, we'd carry over with us. Like for the missionaries, we'd take them gifts. One of the things they wanted was powdered sugar. I can't carry powdered sugar. If that scares you, we don't need you to go. But no, the security clearance is something most of us will not have a problem at all with that. The big thing is being willing to work as a team under supervision of the leader. And that's very important. Then we've got to complete Greater Admission requirements. They have a background check is their security clearance. You have to put an application into them that you're going over there. And then that varies a little bit with the time that we're going. There was a lot more restrictions during COVID that we had to work on. But that's a little bit of what you'll have to do if you want to go. I've got the applications here. Hopefully, if you're interested, take one home, fill it out, get it back to the church here, and we'll get you on board. Let's see what else here. It's great, and we're pushing it. But I like to have half the support in by the end of December. That way you can buy tickets, and I don't buy tickets until at least half of your support's in. I want to make sure you're serious. Once you buy a ticket, that money's gone. And if you don't go, and I've lost one time, but no. So we have asked for half of it in. The other cost needs to be in a couple weeks before you go. You don't need any special skills, just a willing heart. You don't need to speak Spanish, just willing to work together. And everybody on your team speaks English. So What's the weather like over there? Well, depending on when you go, but usually March or April, it varies. And if I could predict the weather, I wouldn't be standing here. Usually we'll have cool mornings. I've been there when we've had frost on the windshield in the morning when we go to work. By the afternoon, it's 70 degrees. It's pretty much like Washington, D.C. here. It's about their temperature zone. So it's a lot warmer than Michigan, but they get very little snow over there. They've had a couple inches of snow one winter, and they thought that was awful. So they don't get the snow, but it does, it's cold. And we've had stuff freeze up in some of the buildings when they didn't get it drained right, so I know that freezing is a problem over there. But usually if you wear layers, we'll start out maybe with a sweatshirt on, be working on a t-shirt in the afternoon. So the one thing I do when I lead a team is we work in the rain, but we do not work in lightning. So we usually take a poncho or a garbage bags or something that we can work out in the rain. It can be a problem over there because most of the ground is clay. And when it rains, your feet may weigh an extra 20 pounds. So it's great though. I think that covers most of the information that I was planning on presenting to you. I'd like to just open it up for questions now. I didn't do that good a job. There's got to be questions. Yes, Pastor.
Bill, you had mentioned about sending out the letters, which I totally understand. Pete had a great idea too.
Pete's got a great idea. I've known Pete for 15 years plus.
Have you ever seen it where churches could say, hey, this is a great idea, we'd love to have our church represented, and then have a collective type of offering where you take special offerings for all of the team, so that the team can help get all of their funding? Is that something that you've seen?
I've heard of it anyway. I know of a couple churches that have done that. And the church usually puts in something to it, but they kick it off, and yes, they've done that. Okay. And that's, that will work. That is a good idea, Pete. That's another one of your good ideas. Oh.
Where I went, we raised money for the team.
Yeah.
You sent out your letters,
For the whole team.
and it was for the whole team.
And we will put a note on our letter that if Pete raises more than his, it goes to the rest of the team.
That's right.
And that's always on there. I've got the IRS regulations. You have to put on your checks. Anybody turn a check in, so it's tax deductible, which isn't quite as important these days as it used to be. We've got so many other ways now to transfer money tax deferred. But I will present all that in meetings. I will present what you need to take, what we need to do as we have meetings right along. But today I just wanted to let you know, a little bit about Spain, a little bit about what this trip could be. Is this something, how many sound interested? 1, 2, 3. I got about 6 or 8 here. And the rest of you, it's something you need to pray about. Think about it and let others know.
I have a question.
Yes.
You haven't mentioned how long you go for.
Thank you. That is very important. And how did I miss that? How did I skip it? That's why I needed to have somebody ask questions. The best I have found, and I've done a couple different ways, but we like to leave on a Wednesday. We fly Wednesday night all night. We get into Barcelona Thursday morning, somewhere between 9 and 11. We do a little bit of sightseeing in Barcelona that day, intentionally to keep people awake, because you flew all night. We get up to the camp. It's about an hour-and-a-half trip, usually in the evening for the dinner, your evening meal. People get to bed at a decent time that night. We work Friday and Saturday, 2 days. We take off Sunday. We worship part of their services. I mean, your services here are nothing time-wise compared to what they do. They will speak, they'll have an hour of music, testimony first, then an hour and a half, 2 of preaching. So we usually stay for the part we understand. It's great worship, and some of the songs they sing, it's the same tunes we use, and we have a great time. And even some of the, people sharing, we've been able to get enough of it. Then we usually leave. We go usually to the Mediterranean on Sunday afternoon, go out to dinner somewhere, and then give you a chance to see the Mediterranean. On my second trip over there, we were able to have a baptism in the Mediterranean. We had a fellow that wanted to be baptized, and that was a great experience. Other than we work Monday and Tuesday. Wednesdays, I try to work a half a day, and then give you a half a day to go to the candy bar factory or the chocolate factory, and then there's a candy factory there too, and do some sightseeing locally. Then we work Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday morning we usually get up early and fly back Saturday night. So it's Wednesday through Saturday. Usually you're getting home around midnight, 1 or 2 on Sunday morning. So
What's the time difference, Bill?
6 hours
So there's 6 hours
ahead of us.
ahead of us.
It is now 6:30 in the evening over there. If we stay awake that first day, people really have no trouble adjusting to the time. It's harder when you get back, adjusting to it here. But that's kind of the time schedule that I like to use. I've done shorter, I've done a day shorter, I've done a day longer. That really works out the best. And especially if you've got some people that aren't used to working long days, where if you do 2 days, you have a day off, you do a couple days, it really makes it a lot easier on your body. Any, huh?
So about 8 days.
Yeah, it's about a total of 8. Wednesday through Saturday. Yes,
Special vaccination?
nothing is required. And even when I said tetanus shot, that's only our personal one from our church requires that. It's up to you guys if you want to require it. And, we've waived it if there's a reason. It's just, like Patty said, it's good procedure. And your tetanus is good for 10 years. If you've had a tetanus shot within 10 years, right? Okay, yeah, that's what I've been told, 10 years. So, other questions? Yes?
Minimum age?
I've left that up to the team leaders, usually myself. I've taken high school kids before. I've taken pretty much high school kids or above. Especially if a parent or guardian is with them, I have no problem taking a 9th, 10th grader along. I've had a gal that was 83, I think, go with us. She did a lot of painting. She climbed inside of cupboards and painted. Just did a lot of work. So there is no maximum age. Minimum. If you've got a family and you want to take kids over to see it, a lot of times it might be better to do a summer trip and take the kids and have them be part of the campers. They go right in with the kids, and they're over there as a camper, and a testimony of the kids they're with. And then the parents work long hours. Yes?
What about the food and water situation?
Food, let me tell you, you're not going to be on a diet if you go over there. Does that answer your question?
We went on a trip to Guatemala.
Yeah.
Said, stay away from
No.
local stuff. There's only certain places.
Yeah. Couple of warnings. If you go out to eat, wine comes with your meal. Water costs extra. But we do buy bottled water. At the camp, we have used both. Their wells are tested, their water is good, but we usually have bottled water just in case. The food, I've had a fellow go with me 4 or 5 times from Alaska, and he has allergies to almost any food. And when he comes to Michigan, he has a hard time on diets in here. He goes over there, and he can eat anything, just because their quality of food is, I guess it isn't as much prepared food,
Right.
more natural stuff, and he has no problems. They're very good to work with us, so, if I've got somebody that's gluten intolerant or something, they'll have enough food. They always have plenty of food out. They pretty much every time they'll have a salad out where you can have salads with oil and vinegar is what they use a lot for dressings. But they serve, very good food and way too much. And they expect you to have a snack at your break in the morning, a snack at your break in the afternoon. They do feed us. They do feed us early in the evening, like 6 o'clock or 7. Most of them over there eat at 9 or 10 for their evening meal. Again, if you're there in the summer, it's a little later, but when we have work teams over there, they do prepare our meal early so we can eat. Usually what I like to do is have a meal at 6:30 or so. We stop work at 5:30, give them an hour to get cleaned up, have our meal, and then afterwards we have a devotional time. And I always pick somebody on our team to lead devotions. And even there, the one thing I tell people whenever you go, you must be flexible. We have to be flexible. Schedule-wise, you need to be flexible. Devotions, maybe they might invite us to a home one night, and you might not get back to camp. We're going to skip devotions that night. You're meeting out with the missionaries in their homes for dinner, But at the most part, I have a worship leader or a team leader that does devotions. Sometimes we even have music. I'm not a music person, but it sounds great. No, you'd have a great time. Just a great place to be with usually great people if you take your team here, So, what else do you need to know? Food, water, questions? Why wouldn't you go? Anybody got a good reason? That's a possibility. Yeah. And they may allow you to go too. I think I could do fine if I got over there, but a 10-hour flight right now for me is pretty hard. And I'm old, so I'm Pete's age.
I will say this, through Trinity, I think I've been on 6. I've not ever been to Spain, but I've been to Haiti, and I've been to Guyana. And it really is a blessing. You'll come back a different person. And,
Amen.
don't worry about, the Lord will provide the money. My wife and I went on a couple of them together, and, it's a great experience. I would just encourage you if there's any way you can do it to go.
Thanks, Pete. Yes,
Have you had anybody extend before, go earlier or after?
certainly. That's very popular. We've had people, we've got one couple especially that's done it 3 or 4 times now. They'll go over and spend a week ahead and then just meet us at the airport the day we fly in and do their vacation first. That works out great. This year I had a couple that have gone with us for years that went with the Everett team. And the Everett Church happens to be a plant from Trinity Fellowship in Big Rapids. So we've got a lot of connections there. But this couple went over with their team for a week. They spent a week in between with their daughter in Switzerland? No, somewhere in Europe. And then came back for a week with our team and spent pretty much a whole month over there. And no, if you want a vacation over there, it's a great way to do it. Anything else? Well, I'll stick around a little bit afterwards here if somebody wants to talk to me. Pete, you want to close this in prayer?
Sure. Let's pray, shall we? Father, I thank you for all the work that you're doing at Camp Arcata in Spain. I thank you for the opportunity to be part of that. I pray, Lord, you'll bless this endeavor questions, resolve all the problems. May we see you